Hello everybody, welcome to today's unboxing of the BenQ XL2420G G-SYNC monitor from, well, BenQ. We're going to go ahead and start the unboxing now. We're going to start taking this apart a little bit and get an idea of what's inside of this thing. Now, this is a hotly anticipated monitor, as it is the first monitor that BenQ has released in the 24 inches category that has the G-SYNC capabilities. A 60 Hz monitor is going to have a few issues with frame rates. Namely, they're going to be stuck at a 60 Hz frame rate maximum. Now, if your frame rates drop below 60, then you're going to have the issue of your graphic card underperforming for your display. That's when you're going to start getting issues like screen tearing. You're going to get different artifacts showing up that shouldn't be there because you're not processing the scene fast enough. Additionally, when you start processing it faster than 60 Hertz, 60 frames per second, then you're going to have the issue that you're also having screen tearing because more frames are being processed that can't be handled by the monitor. Nvidia addressed this by making G-SYNC. Now, G-SYNC has been out for a few months now. The Swift ROG monitor from Asus was already a very successful product. However, the price tag of, well, close to $800 or $900 is pretty hefty for most people. This is a much more affordable option at $600, which is still a ridiculous price. However, you're getting what you pay for in the G-SYNC ability, which again is making it so those frame rates are going to match the frames on the monitor directly with what your GPU is able to put out. So you're never going to have screen tearing, or you shouldn't anyway, and you're not going to get those artifacts you typically get with other monitors. So as you can see, it's all nicely packaged together. We have our power cord. We have a USB connector. The reason why they add this in is because this is a USB throughput connector. It allows the monitor to function as a USB hub with two USB ports. We have all the software included, which you're going to need. Additionally, it has the different warranty information that you need with the monitor. We have a DVI digital cable. This is going to allow for a 1080p connection to be shown through the monitor. Additionally, it's also going to give us that 144 Hertz frame rates. However, this does not support G-SYNC. So this DVI connection, while it is great, doesn't really matter, especially when they provide us with the DisplayPort 2.0. Now, the interesting thing is, in their description of the product on their website, they don't actually mention that they're including the DisplayPort 2.0. So I actually was unboxing this, and this is just a surprise to me, as this to everyone else, I'm sure, that they actually do include it. They should probably put that on their website. Digging a little bit further, we have, what is this? A nice looking, a protective cover for our screen. And basically you're going to be able to put this on your screen, I'm assuming with the intent of taking it to LAN parties, being able to move your system and your monitor without getting it all scratched and dinged up, which is actually very convenient, seeing as how having to put it in and out of the box every time can be a real pain, especially to keep the box around. This is this small, you can put it in your back pocket. Delving in, we have the stand. This stand is phenomenal. It actually attaches with no additional screws required. You literally plug it into the back, the VESA mount on the back of the monitor, and with the base that's included, you can then have your monitor sit at a normal horizontal view. You can have it vertically for a portrait view. So landscape, portrait, doesn't really matter what you're doing, you're going to be able to do it with this stand. Very nice. Next up, we have the base. As you can see, very simple design. It literally snaps right in. You twist a small screw here, and it's put together. Very simple, very intuitive. Next up, we have their profile switch. What this is going to do, it's going to sit right next to the base of the monitor. It's going to have 3 different profiles you can switch between. Now, this is very convenient because G-SYNC is very nice for very demanding games that are going to drop your frame rates. However, if you're like me and you like to play a lot of Counter-Strike, Counter-Strike is not very demanding. I do not need an adaptive monitor for my Counter-Strike gameplay. So I would rather switch it to the 144 Hertz refresh rate and get all the benefits that BenQ has been putting into FPS, first-person shooter monitors, for years. Let's get into the meat here and actually pull up the monitor itself. If I can just get it out of the very tight packaging it's in. Alright, now you can see very clearly on the back, there's the BenQ logo on the back of your monitor, so you can brag to all your friends that you have a better, more expensive monitor than what they have. This is a TN panel. Keep that in mind. That means that the viewing angles are going to be absolutely atrocious, which is not a bad thing if you're using it to game, because this has a 1 millisecond response time. That's why they're using a TN panel. Additionally, it allows those higher frame rates without costing an arm and a leg. Has a very nice contrast ratio. We're talking about 12 million to 1. Now, we're going to put this together here. I'm going to show you how you can not only have it in the landscape mode, but also the portrait mode. And we're going to do a little bit of exploring to see how this G-SYNC works with this 1080p monitor. Now, I want to show you just a few things about the monitor specifically so you can get a solid idea of what is included in the bezel here. Now, obviously, you can tell it's a fairly thick monitor. It's hanging off the table quite a bit. It's not a bad thing, though. On the back, you can see our VESA mount. Additionally, there's a little button here that you can press in. It's going to make this fit in really nice once we do that. So, on the bottom, let's take a look at that. We have our DVI digital, our HDMI 2, HDMI 1, as well as a DisplayPort 2.0 in order to make, again, the G-SYNC actually function on this. Now, over here we have our USB pass-through. Again, this is functioning as a USB hub. You can also connect your headphones to this monitor. We have our power over here on this side. We also have a micro USB there as well. We have our 2 HDMI ports and a headphone jack, excuse me. As we look at the monitor itself, set up in all of its glory, we can see on the side we have our 3D button, our power, as well as different options you're going to be able to do. These are capacitive touch, so you're not actually going to get any sort of feedback from these. It's just going to be a little bit of a touch on the screen, or on the bezel rather, and it's going to then show up the settings on the screen. You're not going to be using this very frequently though, as I mentioned before, because we have this very nice switch that is included. You're going to be setting up whatever profiles you will, and then this switch is going to be able to actively go between them with very nice feedback, very clicky. We have a nice little scroll wheel here, and again that can go through different settings. These are going to be different profiles that you're setting up that you can then switch between. Let's start actually putting this bad boy together. As we peel off all of the plastic, which is oddly probably the most satisfying part of any new product that you're getting, is you get to tear off that plastic and you get to feel it coming off, and I don't know if I'm just weird. We're going to go ahead and I'll get more of the plastic off here in a little bit. We're going to stick this in and get it set up. Now, as you can see, once it snaps in, it's very simple. You stick it in, it snaps, you can then rotate and move this really however you'd like. It has a nice little hanger on the back as well for your headphones. It also has a nice handle. You can then pick it up and carry it by the handle. It's going to be a lot more stable once we have the base on. Now, base, very simple again. BenQ is trying to make this as easy as possible, so you can get this, you can get it out of the box, and you can set it up as quickly as you possibly can. You're just going to align this bottom portion, and then it twists right into place. Now, you then are going to be able to lock it through a screw down at the bottom. There's a nice little arrow that tells you whether or not you are in a locked position, whether or not it's in the position it needs to be. Once it is, you're going to be able to then start screwing it in. Now you can see, once you have it in, this is going to rotate a good, probably a total of about 90 degrees. So once we have her set up, very easily, I just turn the monitor, and we're sitting at a portrait view, as you can see. Very easy to do. You simply grab the bezels and you turn it. Now the other nice thing about this monitor, you apply a decent amount of pressure and it's going to go down or up, depending on the profile or what you have underneath your monitor. So a typical usage scenario, at least is the way that they have it shown on their website, is you're going to have your remote. It actually fits into a nice little bezel area here on the base, and it's going to sit as part of the base of your monitor. You can then have your monitor drop down to the comfortable level of whatever other monitors you have, or whatever height level you want it to be at. There's no switches, there's no clicks, there's no buttons that you have to be fiddling around with. It is very easy to use, and they've applied what seems to be the perfect amount of pressure to be able to get it to move without really having to do too much. But once it's there, it sticks pretty well. You're not going to get this monitor moving a whole great deal once it's set into the position. We have our power cord, goes in quite nicely. It does have quite a bit of room underneath, so if you want to have some sort of cable management so you can't see the actual power cord showing through, you can do that. Let me show you another angle here. You can see very easily that it clears that bottom without putting too much tension on the actual pivot of the power cord. Just a very simple feature that is very handy to have when you're actually working with a monitor. We will now put in the USB pass-through, again functioning as a small hub. There's our USB cord. Rotate this so you can see it a little bit better. Again, plenty of room at the bottom. Now, we plug in our DVI port, or excuse me, our display port. Plug right here, if you can see it very well with that stand. We do have plenty of clearance once again. We have it all set up. Again, very quick and easy to put together. Let's get this thing plugged in and let's see what kind of stuff we can do with this new G-SYNC technology and the difference between the G-SYNC frame rates we're going to get in some exclusive titles as opposed to a regular 60 Hertz boring monitor. Alright, so we're going to look at the monitor's performance in a modern game, Battlefield 4, which obviously is a very demanding game. It takes a lot of resources, not only CPU, but mostly GPU. So we're going to see what kind of performance it gets. Now in the test rig we have here, we have two GTX 970s in SLI, running an i7-4790K processor. So we're going to get some pretty decent performance. We're going to see how this monitor handles those frame rates. You can also see at the top here, this is fraps running. It's going to tell us our active frame rate as it goes to the video. And this camera only shoots at 30 frames per second, so you're not going to see all of the smoothness, but you're going to notice that there's no visible frame tearing. So let's go ahead and watch some of the opening scenes there.
Hey, Rucker, you conscious? Get back in the game, man. Stay with me. Nice play, Rucker. That's some of the finest driving I've ever seen. Right there until the end. Hit the light pack.
As you can see, even with the lighting effects, still maintains very good frame rates.
The worst thing we can do in a situation like this is panic.
And it's adapting between 110 to 144 Hertz. Now we're going to get an example of the Battlefield 4 opening sequence running on a 60 Hertz monitor. You can see in fraps maxing out at 200 frames per second. That's what the graphic cards are pushing out. But obviously this is a 60 Hertz monitor, so it's not quite picking up. So we're going to see some screen tearing. If you look in the middle of the screen, you can see how it kind of chops as it changes quickly from scene to scene. This is the benefit of using a G-SYNC monitor. This is why that BenQ monitor is so valuable, and why it costs so much more than a 60 Hertz monitor like this, because as soon as your graphic card starts pumping out more frames, you're not going to get the response from the monitor that you get from a G-SYNC monitor. Alright guys, that's it for our review. Thank you for joining us to be able to check out the BenQ XL2420G monitor, BenQ's first G-SYNC monitor, also one of the only monitors available with G-SYNC at 1080p. Very nice, I'm very impressed with it. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get to playing on it and doing some video gaming. Join us next time for various other reviews on phones, gadgets, different hardware for graphic cards, CPUs, cases. We're going to be reviewing pretty much everything we can think of, and give us some suggestions if you like it. If you like the video, go ahead and thumbs it up, subscribe to the channel, leave comments if you have any comments on the video, good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be, and we'll see you next time.